Nice to see all of you again. Something came up for me. Got two things to talk about. Something came up about 3 days ago about unconditionally loving myself. And I've been thinking about this for years, writing a book about it, and there's nothing logically why I shouldn't do that. But it's so hard. And when I did, and when I got into that space of unconditionally loving myself, it felt great. In other words, if you could sell it as a drug, it would be the biggest selling drug in the world, in my opinion. Why is that so hard?
Well, we really like having this discussion with you because it gives us an opportunity to crow about this magnificent analogy we have about the vortex, because it's so fun.
And I felt like I was in the vortex when I was there.
So fun to find an analogy that is so directly appropriate to the laws of the universe, to explain things like this. Things that you may have heard in other ways, you can hear more clearly once you get hold of a concept that is so easy to understand. So what unconditional love is being in the vortex, in alignment with the source that is you, that is love, regardless of the condition that is going on. So conditional love, which is what most people are experiencing most of the time, is outside the vortex love. It's where I feel better if you're doing that than if you're doing that. So if you will change the conditions of your behavior, it will be easier for me to love you. Where the source within you, who always stands in the vortex, does not need conditions to be different than they are. The source within you loves you unconditionally because the source within you is love. So the easy answer to this is, when you're in the vortex, seeing through the eyes of source, you are unconditionally loving. And so it really comes back around to this doing what you have control about, which is you can control your relationship to the vortex. As we've been ranting here today, and we really have, as if volume would make a difference for you, we so want you to feel the power and the benefit of being in the vortex. And we also want to sort of bring you to a state of alert in understanding that you have much more control over being in the vortex or out of the vortex than you are taking. In other words, you so often let circumstances or conditions control whether you're in the vortex or not. And unconditional love is taking control of whether you're in or not in the vortex by a sheer determination or desire to be in the vortex. In other words, a lot of you are translating what we are giving you here today in the following way. You're thinking things like, okay, well, if I get in the vortex, then I'll get the manifestations that I want. Well, that is a true statement, but it isn't the reason to get in the vortex. Some of you say, well, if I get into the vortex, then I won't be without so many of the things that I want. Well, that's true too, but it isn't the reason to get into the vortex. The reason to get into the vortex is because when you are not in alignment with who you are, you're off. It's screwy, it's squirrely, it's wrong. In other words, if there is any wrong thing that you could ever do, it is depriving yourself of the fullness of who you are, you see. So we want you to get into the vortex because it just isn't right if you're not. In other words, you're supposed to be clear-minded, and when you're confused, that's off. You are supposed to love yourself and others, and when you don't, it's off. You're supposed to feel secure, and when you don't, it's off, you see. So then many of you say, well, we're in a bit of a trap, Abraham, because we were in the vortex, we were non-physical, and then we came here. We can't remember why, but we came here to explore, by your words, Abraham, contrast in order to take thought and experience beyond. And in that exploration, we go out of the vortex and we say, we know, just don't make a career of being out of the vortex. Don't spend all your time out of the vortex sorting through the details of what life's like out of the vortex. In other words, when you're out of the vortex, you feel bad, and in not feeling good in that out of the vortex moment, you launch a rocket and as quickly as you can, turn your undivided attention back to the vortex. In other words, make a career out of being in the vortex. Make a career out of leaning in the direction of the vortex. Make a career out of reaching for feelings of relief. Make a career out of being aware aware of your guidance system. Use your guidance system. Think and feel, think and feel, think and feel. Get in the vortex and then return the phone call. Get in the vortex and then write the reply to the email. Get in the vortex and then have a conversation with your children. Get in the vortex and then have a conversation with your mate. Get in the vortex and then get in the vortex and then get behind the wheel. Get in the vortex and then take action. Get in the vortex, align, get in the vortex and then. And as you begin doing that, you will discover that you are a consistent offerer of to yourself or to others, wherever you're pointing your lens. You will be a consistent offerer of unconditional love because you're connected to the stream that is love. When people say you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, what the sentiment is that they're trying to define is, if you're not in the vortex, you don't have any love to give. You cannot offer unconditional love when you're out of the vortex because you are not in the vicinity of love. The vibration of out of the vortex and the vibration of in the vortex are very different frequencies, you see. We enjoyed this conversation about unconditional love through the lens of the vortex analogy.